The Oklahoma Sooners and the Ole Miss Rebels may not have been rivals before, but after Brent Venables and Lane Kiffin had things to say, they sure are now.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase over at Gametime. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire and USA Today Sports. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel for more Oklahoma Sooners and college football coverage. On today's show, the Oklahoma Sooners flipped a four-star wide receiver from Penn State. Penn State's loss is Oklahoma's gain. Latest injury updates from Brent Venables' coaches shows and other media availabilities. But let's start here, Jay, because I guess people had some issue with what Brent Venables had to say on Sunday night during the, what do they call that? The
Sooners. What's this?
I don't know, whatever.
Sooner football with Brent Venables.
Sooner football with Brent Venables. He mentioned that he felt like Oklahoma had the better team in their game against Ole Miss, but it's a game of execution, and Ole Miss out-executed the Oklahoma Sooners. There were a lot of things said about that by one Lane Kiffin in his Monday press conference. Let me start here, Jay. Everybody, the sports books, the SB Plus, the ESPN matchup predictor, believes the Oklahoma Sooners to be a better football team than the Ole Miss Rebels.
Yeah. If you really, look at, go look at Stats Award. He has the success rate. It's did we lose as bad as we thought we were? No, we were like right there. And it was basically those small mistakes, the fumble by Satania that took the air out of the stadium, some over-aggressiveness and the lack of just throwing the ball from John Material when we lost it. That's not any slight to Ole Miss. They're a top 10 team in the country, which, that still helps Oklahoma in a way that they lost to a top 10 team. So it's not a bad thing in either way, but BV saying that he felt like his team was better so the funny thing is, and I had put a video out on this last night, I played the actual part what Brent Venables said. And I feel like the lack of context around that really helped with Lane. This reporter asking his question because he didn't ask all of it. So for the most part, BV was talking about one of the plays and how there were certain plays that they had stopped, but the defense got their eyes caught. They were running through trash and they weren't paying attention. And, you have to learn from he said, you have to learn from some real tough mistakes. Hate that for our guys. I feel like we were the better team, but at the end of the day, it's a game of performance and execution, and I thought they out-executed us. So with that being said, statistically, for the most part, we could have been considered a better team. We had a chance of winning it. Heck, we took the lead in this game, and we probably shouldn't have, and as bad as we were playing offensively, but if there were certain things we stuck to, we probably could have closed it out. We didn't, so that doesn't matter. There's no excuses. We lost. They out-executed, as BV said. But I thought it was funny that Lane Kiffin got all, a little in a tizzy, which is my favorite thing about Lane. He gets in a tizzy about everything. Heck, you saw when he, quote-unquote, got into it with David Stone, I guess you could say, but the quote-unquote up there on that before for those that didn't get to see it that's listening to us. Because Stone walked up to him to give him the congrats, and he was like, oh, he's quiet now. He was talking noise all throughout the game, blah, blah, blah. But, that's just me. Blah, blah, blah. It's just me. And, yeah, we know it's just you. It's the fun part about Lane Kiffin. So, to me, as you mentioned on the opening, John, we got ourselves a rivalry, and this one was actually organic. It is now Lane Kiffin versus Brent Venables. For as long as he's at Ole Miss.
For as long as he's at Ole Miss, because he might not be at Ole Miss much longer. But no, listen, Lane Kiffin he's going to be Lane Kiffin. He's always going to say what he thinks. He's always going to fire back with a little bit of petty involved in it. Fire shots at Hugh Freeze, fire shots at everybody when he gets the opportunity to. And this was an opportunity that some reporter just kind of served up to him out of context. And he took an opportunity to fire shots back at Brent Venables. And listen, he's not wrong. They won the game. They played better, but even Brent Venables isn't wrong. They played better. Ole Miss played better than Oklahoma did on that Saturday. A few different things go differently, and that game turns out a little bit differently. We've talked about it. You run the ball a little bit more in the fourth quarter. Maybe you win that game. You have John Mateer make the throws he's supposed to make, hit guys that are open, and you maybe win that game. So again, it is a game of execution. It doesn't matter what the talent levels are. It doesn't matter who's got more blue chippers. All that matters is who executes on that day, and Ole Miss did. Lane Kiffin himself tried to give you the game multiple times, and Oklahoma didn't want it. They just couldn't take it. So as much as Lane Kiffin wants to take offense to what Brent Venables had to say, Venables isn't wrong. Do I love what Venables said? Not necessarily. I think this is one of those issues where we've seen this, unfortunately, play out too many times in the BV era, that they are the better team and then they lose the game. And that's a frustrating part of that as a fan and as somebody that covers this team, is how many times are we going to hear the coach talk about that they were the better team, that they just got out executed, that they just didn't make enough plays in this one. Before with Lincoln Riley, it was, oh, we're close, right? With Brent Venables, it's, we just didn't make enough plays. We didn't execute well enough. Well, at some point, you've got to start executing well enough to prove that you're the better team. And I think that's in all of this. It's kind of my frustration is like, okay, so why aren't we executing better? Why are we not hitting the open guys when they're there? Why are we not executing a rushing attack that proved to be the best part of our offense on Saturday? Why are we not leaning into that? How come we're losing containment on a very mobile quarterback? What's happening on all that? Now, some of those things, weather, part of the discussion. Ole Miss, really, really good offense. Lane Kiffin, really good offensive head coach. You just got beat. That's really what it comes down to.
No, 100%. That's exactly what it is. You just came down and you lost. There's nothing wrong with saying you lost. We lost the game. It shows it on the standings, and there's no even excuse to how we lost. We just didn't execute.
Yep.
So, but it's just funny seeing him get upset. So like I said, we now have ourselves a legitimate beef that, could make things nice and spicy the next time we see each other. Because remember, we get to see each other for the next 4 years as long as Lane Kiffin's there, in which the sucky part for Ole Miss is they come back here.
Yep.
So they got back-to-back trips to Norman, and I don't think trip 2 to Norman is going to, be the same as last year's. I think hopefully it's not in the raininess and we actually execute, but at the same time, we know that one of Brent Venables' is kryptonite, and any team coach that he goes against, especially on the offensive side, is dudes that run a lot of spread, that run a lot of tempo, but then take a approach of the complete opposite of what they did before and slow things down. It's like he struggles against those OCs that just goes the complete opposite of what they typically do. Because that's what they did. They went very slow. And I'm going to be honest, it was genius. I talked about it. I'm not going to stop giving them praise for it because it was smart. You took the thing that Oklahoma's best at and you took it away from them. No aggressiveness, guys. We're going to make it slow it down. But it's going to be fun to see this beef continue to unfold.
And now I kind of hope that Lane doesn't leave in one way. So he has to come back to Norman next year. And so that the Owen Field faithful can really lay into him. The other part of me kind of hopes that Ole Miss has to come back to Norman next year without him. And they have to deal with the ramifications of his discussions and him throwing shade at Brent Venables. But anyway, a game that didn't really have a whole lot of heat before, it has a lot of heat now, and that's going to be a fun one come next year. The Oklahoma Sooners got to get ready for another big-time matchup against the Tennessee Volunteers, and they're going to have to do it potentially without one of their big-time starters on defense. We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a single game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payday. So, It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late splash. I mean, my Thunder gave me back-to-back double overtime games. So, yeah, we was in on that action. So, right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So, head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your first game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. One of the major injury notes coming out of Oklahoma's game against Ole Miss was that of Kobie McKinzie. Suffered a groin strain early in that one and missed, 75% or more of the game. Owen Heinecke came in and played really, really well in his stead, but with as much as Oklahoma was on the field and will potentially have to be on the field this week against Tennessee, you really hope that Kobie is able to get back.
Yeah, you don't like losing out on a player of Kobie McKinzie's caliber. He's another coach on the field. BV kind of points that out at the way that he plays. But I will also say this, though. If you don't have Kobie playing, I think I've got an idea of someone that could do an okay job of handling their responsibilities. Play Kendall Daniels out there with Reggie Powers III. Give RP3 the cheetah role. Put Kendall Daniels out there at the wheel, at the mic. You can put him at the mic. Kip can play the wheel, or you can switch them out. Because Kendall Daniels played pretty well out there in that box and at the slot. He knew what was kind of in a way coming. Like, my favorite thing was the what was it called though? It was the Michael Myers play where he basically stood there like Michael Myers, watched the play, just stood straight up, turned, and just stood there. And he's like, what the heck is he doing? Then he beelined it right there to the screen and leveled the dude and gave him a choke slam. One of my favorite plays, and it's funny, one of the guys over at Championship Standard said that's literally the call in the playbook is like Myers. It is just stand there, don't move, and then go right at the guy. Yeah. It was a beautiful play. It warms my heart every time I see it. I've just replayed it in my head like 40 times. I've actually watched the video from the highlights over and over because it was just great. So to me, John, I would like to see Kendall Daniels playing a lot more. He plays a lot of snaps as it is, but play him a lot with, because I think in this game he played 60 snaps. Play him more with Reggie Powers III. He played 34 snaps, but I would like to see him out there a little bit more. And I think he'll do better with his tackling when the rain's not coming down.
Yeah, part of me is just like Owen Heinecke played so well in this one. Especially in the second half. He just came out like a man on fire. He was just everywhere early in that first half or early in the second half, batting down passes, creating pressure, getting tackles. The dude played really, really well, but you still need depth. You still need middle linebacker depth. I don't really want to move Kendall Daniels off of his spot because he's playing so well. You know what I mean? Like, he's really on a roll and he's been one of Oklahoma's best defensive players. Continue to just lock in with him there. Now, if you want to go with some double cheetah looks and have Kip Lewis kind of as the middle linebacker, so to speak, then I'm for that. I don't necessarily want to put Kendall Daniels on the inside where now he's having to take on guards as the run, in the run defense, or he's having to, work through the traffic in the middle of the field. It's a little bit different ball game than playing one side of the field as a slot linebacker or a slot safety sort of a thing, in my opinion. But he's so athletic and when he's on, he's really hard to stop. So I wouldn't be against some experimentation there, right? Letting him play some rotational snaps there with Owen Heinecke. Or, hey, listen, we saw some James Nesta, back against South Carolina when they were on the goal line. And I want to say it was the Marcus Strong safety. James Nesta was up there too, up in the A gap. Maybe we see a little bit more James Nesta if Kobie McKinsie's not available to play, or your guy, Marcus James. Like, are we going to see a little bit more Marcus James this week? I don't know.
I think they're going to redshirt the freshman. Yeah, I don't think they're going to play him. I think they're going to try to redshirt him and only bring him out if they really need him, which I appreciate because we need some. You're going to need some youth at the line in that linebacker room as we're starting to age out. I expect Kip and Kobie to potentially come back next season.
Yeah.
If we make a real run next season, it's probably 26. Next season is going to be the real run because majority of your defenders will be back except for Dom, R. Mason Thomas, Marvin Jones Jr., Grayson Halton. That's your 4 right there in the interior, and then Robert Spears Jennings and Kendall Daniels are gone. So that's 6 players that can be critical, but you're probably going to go ahead and redshirt him. But no, I wouldn't mind seeing, like I said, more of the linebackers is cool. Like seeing more Nesta, I think that will be good because he's gotten a lot bigger as well. Yeah. I'm really surprised that he's not going to be out there throwing pitches.
Yeah, I don't think he's a baseball player anymore.
It doesn't feel like it. He may be just getting yoked up so he can really just start chunking the ball harder. But yeah, he's a big boy. Like he's gotten huge. But I digress on that. Sounds even weird. We probably should pause on that portion of it. But my point is that I do want to see more Kendall Daniels with more Reggie Powers. And I say that because in this game against Tennessee, they're going to probably spread us out like crazy. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to make more sense having more of a faster guy, more versatile guy there at Cheetah, which in a way could end up alienating Kendall Daniels for being into play unless he's out there like I'm trying to think unless he's chasing a tight end. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what I'm thinking. So with that being said, I'm kind of here for more Kendall Daniels, but we'll see. Reggie Powers probably needs to play more anyway because of the way that Tennessee likes to play ball. They throw a lot of receivers out there. So that's kind of where I'm going. I know I'm all over the place, but that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah. Well, and they want to play sideline to sideline a little bit too. They want to work the sidelines and then work down the field. And it's going to be a tough challenge again for Oklahoma's defense. But I think what we've seen is they've got the dudes to be able to match up. It's just staying locked in and keyed in on their responsibilities and they're contained. I don't see Joey Aguilar running away from them like Trinidad Chambliss did. Now, I said that about the difference between Lenoris and Trinidad Chambliss. I didn't think, but they just weren't able to get their hands on him. It wasn't like he was breaking tackles. They just couldn't get their hands on him because he was so quick. He just got away from him. So, famous last words here. I don't think that Joey Aguilar is able to run the same way that Trinidad Chambliss is. It's going to be interesting to see also on the injury front what happens with Derek Simmons this week. He missed last week due to a concussion. What's his availability going to be like? We'll see when we get the first availability report Wednesday night. But I'm kind of for Ryan Foje continuing to get a lot of looks because he played pretty well out there at right tackle in his first start.
He did. So when you look at that, we don't know what Simmons is going to look like, which we'll find out here on the first injury report on Wednesday night. That's probably when it's going to matter the most. But the way he played, and honestly, the way EPL played, that's 3 dudes that you recruited that you probably should go ahead and start playing going forward. Yeah. It's going to be interesting against Tennessee because Tennessee's defense isn't that good. Like they're at the bottom of the SEC. And it's no shade to them. It's just the numbers show that. I mean, they're everything in their success rate, everything in their rating and the previews, ESPN's previews on them and everything. The numbers don't look very good for them defensively. And Kentucky was out there cooking. So, but Coder Bowley is also not afraid to throw the ball. So that's also another thing that you got to keep in mind. He will chunk that thing. He don't care. You can tell that he's very naive about playing quarterback. He's just out there. He's like, hey, they told me to throw it. I'm just going to throw it and see what happens. And I'm just trying to figure out why the heck we can't find somebody like that. Like why we haven't figured that part out yet, but I digress. Those 2 at your tackles, your 2 true freshmen, and then you add in EPL. You saw some meanness. You saw some good running. That run that Xavier Robinson, I've been rewatching that. I think it was Cole Kublik. He actually posted it on his socials. He was showing it's either Cole or Alex King from the Championship Standard. Can't remember which one. But they posted him. They posted the block that EPO did. He went in. His guy was basically gone. He ran up to the middle, and he could have turned right, and because there was a defender coming, but it was going to be a while. Instead, he turned left and leveled one of the safeties, which made sure the hole stayed open, and X-Rob ran in for the touchdown. Mm-hmm. That's some of the stuff that you need from him to do on a consistent basis, right? And I think that was one of the things he kind of struggled at, was just making sure he picked the right spots to go to, besides the fact that he's super mean, Well, you got meanness in the run game, John.
Yeah.
This is what we wanted. Keep running.
Yeah, and I listen. I totally respect a guy like Gabe Ikard and his ability to evaluate offensive line talent and technique and all that stuff, and talks about how a guy like EPL needs to be more fundamentally sound to be more successful at this level. At the same time, give me a dude that plays with his effort and his nastiness, and let him continue to work on his technique. Give him film to be able to get better with his technique. The only way you can get better is if you play. So just keep playing him. And listen, I don't want to look too far ahead. I don't want to get to the 2026 because we still have a lot to play for in 2025. But you mentioned it. A lot of this offense is going to be back next year. So you're going to have a lot of continuity on both sides of the ball. And if 3 of your 5 offensive linemen are starting the rest of the season, that sets you up very well for next year.
It does.
Another thing that might set you up pretty well for next year, you got a 2026 wide receiver flip, and this dude, he can go. Let's discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. College football is here, and we couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. And that's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. You pull up the Gametime app, and in a couple taps, you can see amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25 if you're looking for Oklahoma City Thunder or Dallas Mavericks or future St. Louis Cardinals, Kansas City Royal games. You can find it all inside the Gametime app. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go download Gametime today. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Oklahoma Sooners picked up a big-time 4-star wide receiver commitment from one Jahisear Rogers. He was originally committed to Penn State, but flipped his pledge to the Oklahoma Sooners. And Jay, I love what I see out of Jahisear Rogers.
Yeah, when you watch the tape here, like this is his midseason highlights I had to pull up, and boy, does he look good. Like he does a really good job of using his body. His nickname is Spider-Man, so obviously there's something there about him being like a spider or something. But look at that. Look at that catch. Oh,
great body control, man.
Oh, and so we get excited about these high schoolers. We just got to see them do it at the collegiate level. But somebody was saying that he would be considered they think he'd be a 5-star if he wasn't in Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
And for him, it's more so he's just making ridiculous catches. And then, of course, he's outrunning the competition. And so Penn State liked him. And shockingly enough, John, Penn State does a really good job of picking up recruits. Especially at the wide receiver spot, they have this tendency of getting a bunch of really good wide receivers. And this is kind of an example of one of those, I do believe. I like I said, I like his control. And I like his route running. So it's something that you hope that you would get out of him at the collegiate level.
So the thing that really stands out to me about him first is just, okay, he's a 5'10 guy, but he doesn't play like a 5'10 guy. He plays way bigger than who he is. He is not afraid to initiate contact, especially out on the perimeter against cornerbacks. He will run through a guy just as much as he'll try to run around a guy. And he's got the speed and he's got the agility to make people miss in the open field. But sometimes he's just like, hey, I'm going to bowl you over and I'm going to pick up extra yards. Like he's not only getting the pretty yards where he's able to make guys miss and create those highlights, but he's getting the dirty yards too. And to me, give me a wide receiver that plays with an edge. And that's a dude that can go and be something. Because you've got to have a little bit of dog mentality in you, a little bit of CeeDee Lamb in you. I'm not saying he's CeeDee Lamb, but you got to have a little bit of that mentality in you if you want to go be great. You've got to be this guy that's like, I'm going to score every time I touch it. You want to throw me the ball every time you get an opportunity because I'm going to make something happen with it.
No, I agree. And he has a really good offer sheet. I mean, Penn State, Alabama was trying to get their hands on him. Nebraska, Syracuse was after him. Indiana. Yeah, he does some stuff, man.
Like, okay, you're not seeing it because you're listening, but we were just watching it. He hurdled a dude standing straight up. A guy was standing straight up and he hurdled over him.
He's got some hop. So like, it's funny because everywhere I look when it comes to his numbers, I think 247 has him at 5'11. Rivals has him at 5'10, and usually with those, it's more of the last time that they measured him, so it's not always accurate. ESPN has him listed at 6 foot 175. So we don't know what he really is. I think on his socials, he's like 6 foot or 6'1. So I don't know. I'll just say this. I'm pretty excited at what he has to offer here because, I like a kid named Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, and the offer sheet, like you were talking about, was pretty impressive. A lot of big time programs coming after him here, especially here in recent months, when the James Franklin thing went away and he had official visits lined up with some of these other schools and he chose Oklahoma. And again, I'm excited about it. I think this is a kid that's got big time potential. And okay, you want to say he played in Delaware and it's easy to go do that in Delaware. Let's see what happens in the SEC. But you know what? A guy that's coming out of a state like that, he's going to come out with a chip on his shoulder. Similar to kids that come out of Oklahoma or Louisiana, they're going to come up with a chip on their shoulder trying to prove something. And so give me the number one player in any state. But man, this is a kid that I think has a potential to do something, man. It has a potential to help on punt returns as well, because he's aggressive and he's just a playmaker.
Yeah. That's what you like. He's aggressive. He's a playmaker. I mean, Hollywood was probably about the same size, right? And what you need to do is just see if there's no fear in his game to go perform.
Right.
We can hype him as much as we want, but until we physically see him do it, totally get it. But that's what you're hoping for. And so with that, you had a bunch of recruits in town, and the consensus from that, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad visit for the fans. They had fun. For the recruits, they sound like they're pretty excited about, potentially, coming to Oklahoma. They like the potential. They like what it looks like, forward thinking. That's the thoughts.
Well, and shout out to Sooner Nation, because a dreary day with a lot of weather and you showed out. Like it didn't slow you down one bit. You came to life in the third quarter, even more so. Again, a guy like Gabe Eicher and Teddy Lehman saying it was probably the loudest they'd ever heard that stadium, which is really impressive considering the big games that have been on Owen Field over the years. Sooner Nation created an atmosphere that these prospects are talking about. And that's huge, man. So even though the game didn't go Oklahoma's way, it didn't seem to thwart any opinions of prospects that came to visit that day. They left really encouraged because of the program that Brent Venables is building, the culture that he's put in place, and because of the fan base. And from what I understood, Jaden Pettit, another 4-star wide receiver that was in town, spoke glowingly of Oklahoma as well.
Hey, what's funny? And I've saw some people posting on the socials saying, why would they want to come here or whatnot? I'm like, I think they see an opportunity to play. That's usually why young players will be like, hey, I mean, if there's an opening, I'll take it. And the one thing Oklahoma has proven is that if you come out as a freshman, you show you're ready, you're starting to see a lot of freshmen on our roster play. We got two true freshman tackles right now. We've got a true freshman corner. We had a true freshman All-American on defensive tackle as well as at corner last year, right? So you got another true freshman All-American that's probably going to show up at corner with, and Cortland Guillory at DB. Yeah. We play freshmen.
Yep.
True freshman running back. They will give you a shot. If you show it in practice, they're going to play. And that's typically what they go off of. If you're performing in practice, you're typically going to perform, get it in the game. And so we'll see.
Can I make a request for some Elijah Thomas, please?
I've been asking
Elijah Thomas,
for a while, John, and I just don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Sized.
Obviously, there's something in practice that we're not knowing about. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? It's time. He's earned his stripes on special teams. It's time to give him about 10 to 15 snaps on the offense. Let him run some routes. Let him get his feet wet in some Oklahoma offense and see if he can go make some plays.
Yeah, I would like to just go ahead and burn his red shirt and make him go, but no.
Well, with the way he's playing special teams every week.
That's the problem.
So his red shirt is gone.
Yes, go ahead and play him.
So let's just play him. Let's get him out on the field. Let's go 4 wide. Let's put him out there. Let's let him go. Let's let him go work a little bit. Anything else we want to discuss here before we get out? Anything that we didn't touch on that we need to touch on here, Jay?
Nope. Think this is a good day. Tomorrow, Brent Venables has his presser, and so you're gonna probably hear him get. Somebody's gonna ask him about Lane Kiffin's comments.
That's right.
And so you're gonna get Brent Venables clap back,
That's
and then
right.
Lane Kiffin's gonna clap back to his clap back.
Right.
Probably go on McAfee's just so he can clap back. And we're gonna get a bunch of clapbacks on the clapbacks.
Yep. Oh my
We're
goodness.
clapping back on the
All
clapback.
while we get ready for Josh Heupel and the Tennessee Volunteers. And,
Gotta love it.
It is Tuesday, October 28th, which makes it a great day to remind everybody, including Ben Arbuckle, run the dang ball. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner.